All right, B team is back. Mike decided to quit on us again to study for his tests. That's all right. He better pass. But today we're gonna break down the Sixers. We got Abe back on.
What's going on, boys?
Known Philly fanatic. You've seen him on TV probably. You've seen the Sixers media outlets post him. He wants to restart the process. I don't know if that's a great idea. But before we get into that, just a little housekeeping we can go through. Last night, we had Denver sweep LeBron. Somehow the NBA let that happen. We got Miami up 3-0, 3-0. We're not in Europe. On the Celtics, thank God. And we got the Panthers up 3-0. Dallas up 2-0. I can't stop saying no. So every single playoff series sucks right now. Just a little housekeeping. Abe, welcome to the show.
Appreciate it.
Welcome back to the show.
Yep,
recurring guest. I mean,
it's bad.
It's been a week.
Yeah. It's been a week, and honestly, I haven't thought about it much.
Yeah.
So it'll be good to revisit the whole season, the process, etc. So, just happy to be here. Let's talk about it, and let's air our grievances.
Oh yeah, and like you said, you haven't thought about it. I said to Gassy when we walked in, I don't think I've thought about the Sixers since the loss.
No.
And I think that goes for most Sixers fans. Shit, we got stuff falling from the ceiling. No, but I haven't thought about the Sixers since that loss. Doc Rivers got fired. Perfect. That was the last time I thought about that.
Yeah.
And I was on a golf course. It was like 2 seconds I was thinking about him. I mean, revisiting Game 7, I don't care about the first 6 games. I don't know how you feel about it. Game 6, we had a chance to close it. But once you get to a Game 7, if you're a big-time player, None of the other games matter. I don't care what your percentages were coming into the playoffs, what they were in the playoffs, how you did in the series. If you're a big-time player, Game 7 is the only thing that matters.
And you saw how Tatum played, and it's like we have the reigning MVP. He finally got it. And he comes out like that in a Game 7. His whole legacy is honestly on the line up until this point. And he put up, 15 points? It's ridiculous. Yeah. It's like the team has no heart. They have no will to win. They're the most gutless playoff performers ever.
Yep.
And I hate to say it, but once they blew Game 6, I knew going into Game 7 back to Boston, we already stole 2 there. It's like I've been telling everyone, it's like watching the same movie over and over again. You know how it's going to end. You know how it's going to end.
We all knew we weren't winning that game.
Oh, 100%. And it's like they just don't have that player that is going to step up when it matters. It should be Embiid. It should be Harden. Harden did it twice in the series.
Mm-hmm.
He's 34. You can't act you expect a lot out of him. You don't expect him to play as bad as he did, as hot and cold as he is, but
he's on his retirement tour.
Yeah.
He's going back to Houston.
And we'll get into that too, but it's like Embiid had his shot at finally getting to a conference finals, finally, solidifying himself as that top 3 player in the NBA. Someone you could rely on in the playoffs, and it's just like you put up 15 points in a Game 7, you get blown out by 30 points. It's the perfect example of who the Sixers are. They're a team of a bunch of losers.
Yes.
It's just a losing franchise. It starts with ownership. Daryl Morey came in, was supposed to fix it all. He was supposed to,
and to an extent, I would say he did.
He's done an all right job. Although it's he handled the Ben Simmons situation pretty close to as good as he could have.
Yes,
he's nailed some draft picks, but if you look at his trade deadlines, it's very underwhelming.
It's limited.
Exactly.
I mean, he's only been with us for 2 years?
I think he's going on his 3rd off season now. Yeah,
I think we all. Because I have seen a few people kind of say, "Oh, is he the guy? Is he the right guy for the job?" But if we, as an organization, we're a bunch of hypocrites if we say that we have to get rid of him right now, because we stood by Sam Hinkie, and I think a lot of us still do. I still do. I still think the process was never finished because they got rid of him.
It's a shame that they pretty much made him resign.
Yeah.
But it's just the Colangelos came in, messed everything up,
God,
and
dude.
it's like you could point any which way, like what went wrong, but at the end of the day, you have an MVP.
Mm-hmm.
He won the MVP. You're going to Boston in a Game 7. If they make it to the conference finals, we were pretty confident we would beat the Heat. The way they're playing, I don't
know
think
if that
we
would have happened.
But that's also like, if they win that game, we're high.
Yep.
We're all coming in. We're pretty confident in that Heat series because we have the MVP. Yeah. But now we don't give him that benefit of the doubt anymore. No. I don't think.
No.
And at this point, it's like, where do they go from here?
Yeah, and I mean that's what I was going to ask you. But before we get there, I need to ask you who do you think is the worst player in our starting five right now?
Tobias Harris.
And I'm glad you said that because that's who I think. And that leads me right into my next point. He was our leading scorer with 19 in Game 7.
And it's like,
our worst player in our starting five was our leading scorer. You got to be kidding me. Mm-hmm. I don't count PJ Tucker in that, the scoring part of it.
Yeah, I mean...
But because Tobias is always going to score more than PJ.
Right.
But for him to be our leading scorer over guys like James Harden, who put up 9 points, Joel Embiid, who put up 15, Tyrese.
Yeah. It's, like I said, it was one of the most gutless performances I've ever seen. Yeah. Just everything that was on the line. It was... Harden had a chance to kind of quiet the critics. Embiid had his chance. Doc had his chance. It's like...
Yeah. And with Harden, I feel like at this point in his career, the playoffs aren't going to happen for him.
No,
it happens every year.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen for him. Like, it sucks. He's probably going to be a Hall of Famer because of those seasons in Houston.
Yep.
But if you put him up against a guy that did it in the playoffs, he ain't getting into the Hall of Fame.
I think everything he's done, in the regular season, the scoring, he changed the game. So I think he's definitely a Hall of Famer. But the playoff struggles are always going to loom large.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's putting the Sixers in a tough spot. Obviously he's going to opt out of his deal.
Yeah.
And you either have to pay him $200 million or you let him walk for nothing, and where do they go from there?
I honestly think you let him walk and you take a run at Dame.
Yeah.
Dame clearly wants to leave.
I think he does, but I just don't think they have enough to get him. It's like Maxey and Tobias and whatever draft picks they could come up with. I don't think they can't trade their first till 2029. So It's like...
And we're talking about who could we move for Dame. Every team in the playoffs right now has one or two, if not three guys on the bench who come in and make a significant difference in the game.
Yeah.
They don't just come in. They come in and score. They rebound. They do something. Sixers haven't had that in 4 years.
Well, I thought D'Anthony Melton, he could be that player. I mean, all year he was pretty solid. Game 6, lights got too bright. He's throwing brick after brick. It's like... Every single player on this roster had their chance to make an impact on the series and pretty much close it out in Game 6.
Yeah.
And every single one of them it crumbled.
And people don't want to hear this. They don't want Embiid to say this because for some reason in sports, this is the worst thing you can do. But Embiid can't win by himself.
No.
I know that clip was taken out of context, but honestly, it's true.
It is.
Embiid can't go out there and get double and triple teamed and everyone be like, oh, why is he not scoring? Why is he not winning these games?
Right.
Because when he passes the ball to guys like Tobias, PJ Tucker, James Harden in the playoffs.
It's like I watched the Nuggets, I watched the Heat, and even the Celtics. Their offense is night and day. It's like they'll drive it in, kick it out. They have a guy that's cashing a three. Like you said, we pass it out to Tobias Harris, brick. It's like... It starts from the top down. It's Josh Harris. He's a loser. Always been a loser. Commanders are going to stay losers.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like they just failed to put the right players around Embiid. And it's like if he can't make it work with Harden, who's one of the most dynamic players, even at his age. I mean, he's lost his step, but he completely changed his game from being the number one player on the team, score first, could put up 40, 50, whatever, to being a playmaker, always looking to make the pass, even in the wrong situations. When he has a wide open layup, he's still looking to kick it out.
The whole game 6.
Yeah, it was
the whole game 6.
Game 6.
Yeah, I felt like I tweeted this out in the playoffs. I said, James Harden, handshake, Ben Simmons. And of course, the next night he went out and dropped 40.
Yeah,
but
that's how it is.
If we look at the rest of those games, I mean, James Harden and Ben Simmons weren't too different. Ben Simmons, he scored, I believe he had 10 points in the fourth quarter of that Atlanta Hawks game, the infamous one, the one that everyone hates him for.
Yeah.
James Harden had 0 points in a crucial fourth quarter game 6.
I said it after game 3 when that whole interview happened. I said he looked like Ben Simmons. He had wide open layups multiple times.
Yeah.
Passes it out.
It's almost like it's a Philly curse. We can't have a good point guard. Allen Iverson was the last one.
It's the Sixers. They're a terrible franchise.
Yep.
That's all it is. They're a terrible franchise, top to bottom, ran by losers, loser players. They're always going to be losers until something changes. I don't know what it is, but I don't know.
Well, let's move on to – I want to hear your response to people saying the process is dead. And first, let's get into that video. Because, I mean, the video is crazy.
Yeah.
Because you did that, and I believe it was also that next game that James Harden went out and dropped 40.
It was.
Yeah, so you and I are in the same boat here.
Mm-hmm.
But we both saw it coming. Like, we both were on the same page while being wrong and right.
Right.
The process died when Sam Hinkie left. People got to come to terms with that. The process has been dead for when did he get fired? 2016?
Something like that.
Yeah, April 6, 2016. So it's been dead for better part of 7 years, 6 years, if you give him that extra year. So if we want to look at who he brought in that time real quick, 2013, Michael Carter-Williams.
Yep.
Trades away Drew Holiday. We go on. We get Joel Embiid the next year. KJ McDaniels that next year. We get rid of Thad Young. Following year, Jahlil Okafor, Richaun Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ben Simmons, Furkan Korkmaz. We got rid of Nick Stauskas. Every year, we got rid of a guy who scores while adding a guy who couldn't shoot. Outside of that Joel Embiid year.
Yep.
We got rid of a shooter while adding guys that couldn't score or do anything on the court.
That's literally what their issue has been. Literally, the whole part of 10 years.
It baffles my mind that we ever got into the process.
Drew Holiday went on to win a championship.
Nerlens Noel went on to play very good in the playoffs, I believe. Thad Young, really good in the playoffs. Mo Williams, really good in the playoffs.
I don't want to say the process didn't work because obviously it landed us Embiid. But I think what Hinkie was trying to do worked by collecting all the assets. I think they just completely misutilized the assets. They had a boatload. It's like what the Thunder are doing right now. They have all these assets, all these picks. They're collecting young players. They're not getting, criticized heavily by the media or anything like that.
It just sucks that he got fired and became commonplace in the NBA.
Exactly. Yeah.
It sucks.
They made an example out of us, but you never know if he was going to be able to, really. I think he would have.
Me too.
I think
there was still 2 more years left in the process, by the way.
Yeah. On
his sheet of paper, his little skill set there, he had 2 more years of the process, and then we were going to be champions.
I think the process kind of took a turn. One, when Hinkie got fired or resigned, whatever happened there. And two, when Ben Simmons just didn't develop as a player, if he was being called the second coming of LeBron, etc.
People actually said that he was a mix between LeBron James and Allen Iverson at
It's
point guard.
like Magic Johnson
Think about that.
comparisons. Like it's insane, kind of how much potential he had.
The guy hasn't played a game in 2 years.
He was an all-star for what, 6 years? It's like
it's such a joke.
It really is. He was
It's
an all-star
such a joke.
just off his name, and it's like the dude only had to develop a jump shot. One of the most important things in the NBA.
Yeah.
How are you in the NBA and you can't shoot the ball?
What really irks me the most about the whole Ben Simmons thing is that Philly fans saw, like, yes, we stood by him when he played, but we all saw it on the wall. Like, we knew his ceiling, and we tried to warn everyone, and everyone just hated on Sixers fans. And now all of a sudden, because he hasn't played a game in 2 years and he still can't shoot the ball, everyone is on our side.
Yeah.
But no one wants to admit that we were right.
I wanted to believe that, Ben was going to become a good player because he was a good player, really good defender, really good playmaker. But the Sixers desperately needed a number 2 guy outside of Embiid that could get you a bucket when you needed one, and he just refused to take that on.
He wasn't it.
And then you get rid of Jimmy Butler because Ben Simmons doesn't want him there, and end up paying Tobias Harris, and the rest is history, obviously.
And that's another thing. It's like after we got rid of Hinkie, our moves have been so shocking. So we released Jimmy Butler. I mean, everyone can see that was the dumbest thing we've ever done. Jimmy loves Embiid, and now Simmons is gone, so it makes no sense. We draft Mikal Bridges, trade him on draft night for a guy who would never touch the bench for the Sixers.
Yeah, he had a peanut allergy.
It's just
almost died. It's like it's the most unreal things ever.
Then we not only did we do those, but the guy who continues to hurt us every year, the only guy. Let's not talk about the team. There's only one guy on this team that hurts us every year, and his name is Jason Tatum. And we went for a guy named Markelle Fultz who couldn't shoot the ball, same as Ben Simmons a year into his career. He changed his shot for some reason when he was easily, like, I'm willing to say he was the best prospect coming out of college.
Yeah.
And then somehow he got to the Sixers as a guard and couldn't shoot the ball. I'm telling you, it's a curse in Philadelphia.
He was literally like exactly what the Sixers needed.
Yeah.
They needed that playmaking guard that could shoot. And like even him, they were calling him D Wade or whatever. And it was like, if your young core is Embiid, Simmons, and Fultz, if they all reach their potential, I mean, the sky was the limit. But 2 out of 3 just so happened to fold and get hurt,
not even come
whatever,
close.
Mental midgets. But and now Embiid, it's like, he gets his MVP, has a shot in the playoffs, and like I said, he just crumbled.
And again, I do want to. We can't put it all on Embiid. He put up. We have to remember he did put up 15. He had people say he didn't have a good game because we lost by a shit ton.
Right.
But I think that in the grand scheme of things, like, the dude's playing on a terrible knee. I think we can all see he was injured.
Well,
and he pushed through it, put up 15. And I'm not trying to make excuses for him, but it's the same. People have to make shots.
Right.
LeBron's team, he'll put up 20 a night. All right, Embiid didn't do that. But guys on his team make shots. He has a second player in AD that will make shots. You look at the Nuggets, Jokic,
the whole team,
great player.
The whole team
makes shots. Let's look at Miami, Jimmy Butler. There's nights where he only has to score 12 points.
They have undrafted dudes making 20 points.
Yeah. All right, let's look at who are they playing? The Celtics.
Yep.
Jason Tatum has guys around that make shots. Everything is the guys around these guys. No one's gonna look at the team and be like, oh, it was just it was just him. He's putting up 50 every night. No one's doing that anymore like Harden was.
No. And again, I think it all comes back to all these teams being much better managed than the Sixers. But again, like you said, we don't want to make excuses for Embiid. Yeah, he was on the bum knee, but it's every playoffs. Every single playoffs he gets hurt. And this isn't me turning on him or anything like that. I think it's just fair criticism as to what he is as a player. I mean, he has his limitations. He's pushing 30.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't had a healthy playoffs yet. It just happens every playoffs. There's something that comes up. And, he doesn't have the best players around him, which I get. But I think that it puts more pressure on him to perform, and most of the time he doesn't when it matters most. And again, he had a pretty good playoffs. Did he play MVP basketball every single game? No, and I think that's kind of my frustration towards him right now.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's get into the future of the Sixers. We're kind of at a critical point. In our probably for our next 10 years. We were in this exact spot, exact same scenario. Game 7 loss to the Celtics in 2012, year before Sam Hinkie came in and started the process. Exact same spot, exact same type of team where you had that guy, but there was no one really around him. Right? So these guys are working their ass off all year. Get to the playoffs, and they're probably, the big guys are probably tired because they're trying to put up 35, 40 points every night of every game.
Yep.
In your mind, I want to hear, where do we go? Who do you want the Sixers to bring in? How can we get better?
So I haven't given it much thought, honestly. Obviously, in the video, I said blow it up. There's...
That was an incredible moment.
I think that the video got taken way out of context.
Well, I mean, you grabbed the mic.
Yeah, it's like...
You looked like a crazy person.
The whole game, me and Antonio, we're just like, dude, they again, played gutless basketball. Terrible. Just... so frustrating. It's like you go there, it's 1-1, Embiid MVP ceremony, bawling his eyes out before the game because his son runs out on the court. One of the happiest moments of his life, probably. And it's just the whole team just fails to respond. The whole arena was like buzzing, dude. You could feel it. Probably the most important game in the Wells Fargo Center since, I can't even tell you. I don't know.
Allen Iverson.
Yeah,
since
been a long time. So I'm watching the game. It's like, dude, all right, I can't even get mad at this point. It's like it's the same thing every single year with the Sixers. Every single year, I've seen this 100 times. So me and Antonio, we're just going back and forth. It's like, dude, one of the biggest games of these dudes' career. Chance to go up 2-1 at home. You stole one in Boston without Embiid. Game 2, you expected them to lose kind of. Embiid's first game back. Just get his feet wet, get his conditioning back, whatever. Game 3, MVP ceremony. Got a chance to go up 2-1, take control of the series, and you come out as flat as you did. So, very frustrating. Me and Antonio, like I said, we're going back and forth. A lot of people thought I was drunk. I only had 2 beers the whole game.
Just to clear that up.
Just 2
clear
beers.
Up. Responsible.
Yep.
Responsible.
And, the energy was high. So we're coming down the escalator, and we see a camera and a mic, and they start interviewing Antonio. Asking a couple questions here and there, what do you guys think? Da-da-da.
You guys were put in an unfair scenario, by the way. have someone holding a camera and a mic as Philly fans, let alone any fans, leaving a bad loss on an MVP award night. Well, that's set up for failure. But continue.
They baited us.
Yeah, no, absolutely, really absolutely. They got you guys. Learning experience.
We loved every second of it, though. So, like I said, we come down the escalator, see the camera and the mic, and they start interviewing, and I don't know what made me start saying what I did, but I just kind of started spitting, and next thing I know, I said trade Embiid, trade Harden, even though he's a free agent. I got a lot of backlash for that. Restart the process, and the rest is history, obviously.
Yeah.
So back to the original question, where do the Sixers go from here? I think it's tough. It's like, I think a new coach with Harden and Embiid, I think there's a lot of benefits to that. I still think they could win together, but I think paying a 34-year-old James Harden $200 million over 4 years, it really handicaps your ability to build a competitive roster around the two of them. And Maxey has his extension coming up, so you're gonna have to pay him. I'm not like too much of a like cap junkie for the NBA, but I know there's the new CBA.
Yeah,
a lot of limitations there's gonna be with teams building and keeping their own talent.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think paying Harden $200 million is a good what a good franchise would do. Do I think their back's against the wall and they're gonna do it? Yeah, probably, especially because Daryl Morey loves them, and I don't think there's he came out and said it. Plan A is to re-sign James.
I honestly I love James Harden. I'll ride with him.
Right.
But I don't think he's the key to unlocking a championship. And talking about the coaches here. This isn't because I'm a Villanova guy. But I think we have to go get Nick Nurse, Monty, or Jay Wright.
I think excuse me.
It's all good.
Wrong pipe there. I think Nick Nurse is my number one guy. Yeah. Obviously, if Jay Wright's available, I would love him. But I think he's staying retired.
Yeah. My only thing with Jay Wright is that he's proven he can develop guys. And if you look at our roster, the guys that we need to develop are these young players.
Right.
And I think he can help us get to that point. And he's a winner. He's been around NBA guys basically the last 10, 15 years.
You look at all the Villanova guys in the NBA.
I mean, look at the Knicks.
They're all impact players. Yeah, Josh Hart.
And that's something I wanted to bring up as well, because it's not just Villanova guys, but PA type players, where you're going to have guys like Josh Hart, Lonnie Walker, and Dante DiVincenzo coming up in free agency this year. Mm-hmm. So I'm not telling us to just go build a Villanova roster here.
Bring Lonnie back.
But Lonnie Walker proved that he can play.
Right.
Dante DiVincenzo proved he can play in this playoffs.
Real quick, Lonnie Walker. When was the last time you saw one of the Sixers, 8th, 9th, 10th bench player come off the bench and shoot perfect in the fourth quarter?
15 points in the fourth.
It's unreal.
That's what we were talking about earlier.
It's unreal.
Every team in the playoffs has those guys on their bench. We have no one. We got Basketball Paul. B-Ball Paul was our biggest. We rode with B-Ball Paul on our bench. The dude put up 2 points a game.
Out the mud.
2 points a game.
Yeah.
The only thing he brought to the city was vibes and T-shirts. Vibes and T-shirts. That's what he brought to the city.
$100 hoodies.
Yeah, come on, man.
Out the mud.
I know you got to drive it to UPS yourself on your day off, but there's no reason to be making these hardworking people of Philadelphia pay $100 for your ugly ass hoodie.
I love B-Ball Paul.
I love him.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. But some other guys that will be free agents, we got Porzingis, D'Lo, who I don't think D'Lo would be an answer, But I'm telling you what, on MVP night, he would have come out and given you 20.
Yeah.
He would have made sure he put up 20 for Embiid.
It's like
and Fred VanVleet if Nurse comes.
I would like Fred VanVleet, especially if Harden walks, but it's like you think of all these players and you're like, I don't really want to pay him. And then you remember you're paying Tobias Harris $38 million, and I would choose Austin Reeves over Tobias Harris 100 out of 100 times.
I cannot, for the last 5 years, I've hated Tobias Harris.
You can't even hate. I hate him as a player, but it's like, dude, congratulations, you got your bag. Good for you. You robbed him.
We pay him more than Luka Doncic makes from the Dallas Mavericks, and Luka is one of the premier players in the league. Not of young players. He's one of the premier players in the league, in the world. He was playing for Real Madrid at the age of 17.
Yeah.
Tobias Harris, who, for the better part of every game, forgets how to play basketball. He can't make layups. He's on the verge of fouling out of every game. The dude, it's crazy that we pay him more than Luka. It's actually disrespectful to Luka that we pay him more than Luka.
It's like
Tobias, we should be writing an apology letter to Luka.
Tobias just fails to make plays a high school basketball player would make. He makes high school basketball player mistakes.
The only reason he would play for Liberty High School is because of his height.
It's if Jeremy Johnson was able to if Jeremy Johnson wasn't able to suit up, they would call Tobias.
Absolutely. That's exactly what would happen. If realistically, Darren Hilliard would have looked like LeBron James. He looked pretty awesome when he was at Liberty, but he would have looked like LeBron James if Tobias Harris was on the team.
Tobias is god awful, dude.
And keep in mind, Darren Hilliard is playing for Maccabi Tel Aviv right now, crushing it, but he's not in the NBA, and I still think he would have looked like LeBron compared to Tobias.
It's like it's just so frustrating as a fan knowing that they'll never compete for anything as long as Tobias is on the team.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if they want to, he has one more year. You kind of look at what the Lakers got for Russ.
Yep.
They gave up a 2027 first round pick, whatever. I think, like I said, our next first is 2029. So, if you could trade that first and Tobias and, either dump him and pick up some salary fillers and, I think that's really the only route.
Do you want to hear a funny joke?
Yeah.
We have no draft picks this year.
Yeah, they have,
our only hope is to go get guys in free agency or trade for people.
Yeah.
We have no draft picks.
Undrafted free agents, it's ridiculous. They traded it's like the 35th or 35th overall pick. They traded him for McDaniels at the trade deadline.
Yeah, McDaniels, who didn't even play in the playoffs.
It's like
we didn't even play him. He was on our bench. He might have played 10 minutes total. Jump.
He's a track star.
He looked great in his first game. I will give him that.
Yeah, and then
gave me flashbacks of Michael Carter Williams. Looked awesome in his first game, then never heard from him again the rest of the year. Went on a 17-game losing streak, followed by a 26-game losing streak. Sorry, I didn't mean to go back there, but
yeah, it's like
it's bad.
It goes back to the Sixers being unable to put talent around Joel Embiid. Every single move they make, it's like I just want to know the logic behind trading for McDaniels. It's like they needed an athletic wing. I get it. But you also need shooters. You need guys that could play basketball.
Did we already see the best Sixers team we'll ever see in our lifetime?
I think that Jimmy team's hard to,
honestly,
it's hard
did we see the best team that we're ever going to see in a Philly uniform?
It's at this point, it's like my expectations are pretty low for the organization.
I've come to terms with two of my teams that I've seen the best team I'm going to see in them. The Yankees, when they won the World Series, that last one, that was the best team I'm ever going to see in the Yankees uniform. So everything's downhill from here. Liverpool, my favorite soccer team. The past 3 years, best team I've seen. I'm not going to see another one. Flyers.
Oh, God.
That's basically the Sixers at this point. Trying to figure out if I've already seen the best team.
I don't even know what they're comparable to.
Let me just look around. Who else do I like that sucks?
Cowboys.
Well, Cowboys, debate's still out there because every team's basically the same so far.
We'll see.
Well, no, they're all the same.
Yeah.
Every year, it's been the same.
I mean,
we're good enough to be on the verge of playoffs, and we're good enough that there's like half of ESPN thinks we might be able to make a run at the Super Bowl.
Right.
But realistically, we're just going to lose in the first or second round to the 49ers.
I've never seen a team get as much Super Bowl hype without backing it up as much as the Cowboys. It's like every single year, regardless if they're going to go 2-14 or 2-15.
Well, dude, that's because Jerry.
15-2.
If your owner would have paid ESPN and all of them a little more money, they would talk about it more.
Yeah.
You guys should just do that more often. Instead of paying your players, like, get good guys, you should just pay ESPN to talk about it and CBS and all
It's
those.
crazy, like,
yeah,
just how much money he has. And
yeah.
I mean, I think the Cowboys are going to be a really good team, to be, like, honestly. But
No, and it's funny because this season, I do think the Cowboys will be good, and I do think they'll win the division only because the Eagles won it last year and no one repeats. But I do think the Eagles will be the better football team.
yeah, I mean,
Like, I'm willing to say that. Like, it's kind of obvious.
I think
if
the
you think
teams are
about it.
close. I think the teams are close. I think,
I think you guys just have more guys that have a name.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, if you go around the league and you put the two rosters next to each other, I feel like more people will know your roster than ours, but that's also because you guys were just in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Congrats on the loss, by the way.
thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, we'll we'll have to get Aaron back sometime and go at it again.
Dude, that video's still funny.
Oh God,
It's still funny. People still comment on, like, I say this every month, but people still comment on, like, my phone just ran, like, random mornings. People get mad that he said that still. And they'll argue for Kelsey.
Oh God,
It's crazy. And I'm just like, dude, it was so long ago. Why we're still mad about it? Come on.
What, the Creed Humphrey?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They still comment and be like, this guy's ridiculous. Like, how high? I mean, Aaron looked on, like he was on Mars.
I think he had allergies or something.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. We'll say it was that. Midwinter allergies.
Yeah, he's down in Georgia, so there's a lot of pollen and stuff.
Yeah,
But
he might have cut some grass.
Yeah, absolutely. But Bermuda.
It was such a good game. It's like, looking back on it, it's the most disappointing point. Like, the most disappointing part is they had control of the game, and they just couldn't get a stop.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Sixers, though. It's like I'm kind of just blocking it out, keeping it moving, and looking forward to next year. And that's all I could really do.
Yeah. So, last thing I'm gonna say before we close this up is, well, two things. I want to hear one player that you want gone from the Sixers. I think I already know who that's going to be. I want one player that you want them to bring in this year, and when you think we'll be in a championship. So 3 things.
All right.
Fuck.
Tobias, obviously, he's got to go.
Yeah.
I can't put my finger on one player that I want.
Yeah.
Pretty much any wing that could step in and could hit threes.
That's what I've been asking for 10 years. But
yeah.
So that's not going to happen.
It's like the most impossible task for the Sixers. So it's like, I might as well just not even ask for it. But it's like Bruce Brown. Like, he's having an unreal playoff run right now. It's like, I want to know what he's shooting from 3 because it's got to be pretty damn good. So pretty much just, I think they need to round out their roster with guys that could shoot and defend. And it's like, I think with the Sixers, it's like when PJ Tucker, a guy who's like infamously known for not scoring the ball and just being a good defender, is the heart of your team and having to be the guy to rally everyone.
Yeah.
And like having the light of fire under your MVP's ass in a playoff game.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off here.
Oh, you're good.
He's shooting 40% from 3 and he's somewhere between, I'm doing mental math here, somewhere between 50 and 60% from the floor.
It's like, that's really good.
Yeah, no, that's really good. So he won't be on the Sixers anytime soon.
No. I would pay him a max over Tobias Harris.
Can you imagine we come out and give Bruce Brown a max?
Sign and trade. It's like I don't even know where they go from here, dude. I really don't. It's bad. They're in a bad spot.
All right, well, give me a rough estimate when we'll see a championship. Right? Here, actually, let's do this.
Not in this lifetime.
Let's do this, right? I'm just going to count up by tens. You tell me when to stop.
I think
this is in years.
Okay.
10.
I think maybe in the next 10 years.
All right, good. I was worried we were going to get to like 100.
I think Embiid is too good to not win one.
Eventually. All right, we've tried this for 5 years, basically, trying to get the right team around him.
Yeah.
Eventually, you're going to hit one time and get to a championship, right?
Like I said, though,
everyone
it's
does.
If you can't make Harden and Embiid work, like, again, Doc is a god-awful coach, so it's I'm not surprised that
he's the Harden of coaches.
Yeah, he's really bad. So I think if they find the guy that could come in, hold Embiid accountable, one, start playing him more like a traditional big, not having him out in the 3-point line and just playing him in the post more. If they re-sign Harden, let him look to score the ball more. It's like he's one of the most gifted scorers ever, and you're asking him to take a back seat. I think he even said it, or someone reported it, like that's not what he wants to do. He wants to score the basketball.
Yeah.
Like he's good at doing.
And what happens if he starts scoring the ball and playing like he wants to, you can't double and triple Embiid, you're going to have to go to Harden, which will then open up Embiid. Right. Go to Embiid until they double him. Now you go back to Harden. Like, it's a very simple thing.
It is.
And this is why I've said... So I started saying this. I don't know if I've said it to you, but I said it to Mike. Sixers fans should... Like, every single decision that happens with the team's roster or style of play going into a game should go to a fan vote. 24 hours before the decision has to be made, every fan gets a vote.
Yeah.
And whatever the decision... Like, if we... It doesn't matter if we make the if we make the right decision, everyone's happy. If we make the wrong one, none of us can be mad. It's all on us.
Yeah.
So I don't know why the Sixers haven't tried to do this. Like fans are always mad at the management, the coaches, everything. Just let us decide.
I think the fans could have ran the franchise better the past 10 years.
We would have traded Simmons a year earlier. We would have kept Jimmy.
We would have had him going.
We wouldn't have paid Tobias a max because there was too many people that didn't like him. Tobias would have been a one and done.
Yeah. I don't think we ever would have traded for Tobias if we were.
No.
It's like it's very, very frustrating. It's like you could point any which way, and I feel like it all just comes back to one, Embiid needs to stop being a bitch, and two, Tobias Harris is just like on the most cancerous contract ever. And like I said, I think if they get the right coach that holds Embiid accountable, starts playing him like a traditional big, I'm hoping now that he's not trying to go as crazy with the scoring. Like
he got his MVP.
Exactly. So I hope now he's like, he shouldn't have to feel as stressed to have the whole offense run through him.
Yeah.
I think he needs to be more of a selfless player and do what's best for the team. And
be like
take some games off, dude. You're a 7'2", 280-pound big man. Your knees are bound to be terrible.
And let's be honest, he's not going to make the quota for the awards next year. You have to play like 68 games or something. He's not going to do that. 65. All right. Yeah. Dude.
He shouldn't.
Just take games off. Who
cares?
Who gives a crap if you get first team All-NBA?
Right.
If you win an NBA championship, you'll be a legend forever.
It's much better.
Like, look how many times some of these guys have been on first team All-NBA and they got no championships. And if you ask any of them, they're going to say, I would much rather have a championship. They would trade all of them for one championship.
We argue about it in our group message. It's like, shout out Carlo. We were arguing Tyreek Hill. Would he rather have his big contract right now, or would he rather have just won a ring in Kansas City?
Yeah, I think he would. I think you'd
rather the ring.
Yeah,
I really do.
He won't say it because he's on the Dolphins,
right?
But I bet you behind closed doors, he's like, "Damn, I wish I was."
I really requested a trade, went to Miami, and the team I got traded from won a chip without me. Like, you gotta be salty after that.
Yeah.
So I think a championship outweighs anything you could ever ask for.
Yeah.
It's, you could have 8 MVPs, 8 first team all NBA. Yeah, you're a great player, but did you ever get your team over the hump and win a championship? That's what people are going to talk about. That's what they talk about with Dan Marino, one of the best quarterbacks ever. Did he ever win a chip? No. And that's what people talk about.
Yep. Well, that feels like a good spot to leave it off with. I feel that for some reason now, I feel like I've convinced myself we might win one next year. I don't know why, but like I feel confidence now that I got all that off my chest. But that feels like a good place to leave it. So Abe, thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it, guys.
Fighting our demons together, but
I'm
hopefully
gonna,
next year we're celebrating.
My closing statement: don't trade Embiid, re-sign Harden, re-sign Doc. No, I'm just kidding.
No, don't do. I'm with the first part.
Yeah, no.
The second two, I think I could live with.
Nah, it's we're just gonna continue to trust the process, I guess.
Trust the process.
It's always trust the process.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on.
Appreciate
everyone. Remember to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, whatever the hell you use, and then subscribe to YouTube.